This is Entertainment for Review, and it's time for another review of The Big Bang Theory. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Season 3, Episode 4, The Pirate Solution. Now, this episode does have an interesting beginning, as Sheldon, Leonard, Raj, and Howard are all gathered in the apartment, and they are celebrating Columbus Day in a very interesting way by watching movies that are written by director Chris Columbus. And those movies are Gremlins, Goonies, and Young Sherlock Holmes. And I have to say, for any movie fan out there, that is a very interesting way to celebrate this holiday. And as they're watching Gremlins, Sheldon notes a point that I've often wondered, and that's how hard is it really to follow the rules that are given about the Mogwai in Gremlins? Just simply don't feed them after midnight, don't get them wet. And of course, we know in this movie all these rules are broken. But I guess it wouldn't really be much of a movie if they hadn't been. Penny comes in and the group notes that she refers to Leonard as Honey, which is a change from what she normally calls people, which is Sweetie, giving Leonard some, of course, distinction as her boyfriend. She then notes that due to some family trouble, she's not going to be going home to Nebraska this year for Thanksgiving, so she decides to invite everybody over for Thanksgiving dinner. Howard says he won't be able to because his mom always invites their relatives over and cooks a disgusting-sounding dish called a turbriskafil, which was a turkey stuffed with a brisket stuffed with gefilte fish. Sounds very gross. Penny asks Raj, and Howard says he normally comes to his house for Thanksgiving, but Raj instead gets very emotional and exits the room.
That's right, pal?
Howard goes to talk to him and comes back and says that he found out that Raj is thinking he's going to be deported. And this is where we get the title for this episode, because Sheldon notes that would leave Raj with three options. One would be to return to India, immigrate to another country, or become a stateless pirate. And Sheldon's all for this idea for Raj. They ask Penny to step out into the hallway so they could talk to Raj about this, and when she does, they ask Raj what's been going on, and he basically says that his research has hit a dead end, and when the university finds out, they're going to cut off his funding and his employment, which will result in him getting deported. So that's an interesting note in this episode, that Raj hasn't actually reached a point where they're threatening him with deportation yet. It's just that he knows that that's where this will lead if he's not able to figure out something to do to stay employed. As they're all trying to figure out a way to keep Raj in the country, it's Penny who yells from outside the door, why doesn't he just get another job? Of course, Penny, even being in vocal range, causes Raj to seize up, and he whispers in Howard's ear, asking him if he's allowed to talk, and Howard says he doesn't know if he's allowed to talk now. Raj really does need to work on that particular issue. We next see Leonard and Raj in the university cafeteria getting their lunch. Raj is a little bit upset and talking about how he's going to miss beef if he has to go back to India where they don't eat beef. When they reach the table Sheldon's sitting at and sit down, Leonard asks for an explanation as to why they don't eat beef, and Raj basically says that in his culture they view cows to be gods, and Sheldon is quick to correct him, saying that they view cows to be godlike, and Raj snaps back, pretty frustrated at this moment.
Do not tell me about my own culture, Sheldon. In the mood I'm in, I'll take you out, I swear to cow.
And Sheldon does back off a little bit and apologize, but does tell him that he is wrong. And it's at this point that Howard comes in with a glimmer of hope for Raj, and he says that another professor has a job opening that Raj would be a good candidate for, so he calls and sets up an interview. When Raj gets to the interview, it seems to be going well. He's having a good banter with the lead professor, and he even says he thinks that Raj will fit in well with the team. But then he introduces another member of the team who happens to be an attractive woman, and Raj is, of course, rendered speechless. Now, the professor had previously offered Raj a drink of sherry, and Raj had initially declined, but after this woman enters, he goes over and takes a drink so that he can talk to her. However, then he chooses to take another drink, which was, of course, one too many, and now his obnoxious side comes out. And after she asks the question, he asks if she would like to discuss it more in his hot tub. So I'm pretty sure that pretty much ended the interview right there. Back at Leonard and Sheldon's apartment, Howard and Leonard are shocked at how he couldn't have gotten the job, and they say if he was discriminated against, he should have filed a complaint, and Raj says not to worry, a complaint has been filed. They just don't know that the complaint was against Raj. And Sheldon comes in and says that he's basically here to save the day. He lets Raj know that he thought he wouldn't get the other job, but he has some research that he thinks would be applicable to an astrophysicist, so he asks the head of the department for some extra funding and said Raj can come work for him. And he does mean for him, because when Raj tries to say, "You want me to come work with you?" Sheldon corrects him and says, "For me," and makes this correction a few more times. Raj basically says there's no way he would do this. However, the next day he does come to Sheldon's office to accept the offer because he doesn't have many other options. He tries to give Sheldon a few stipulations that are really reasonable, but Sheldon rejects them all. He then corrects him and says he's not giving him the job, he's giving him the opportunity to apply for it and makes him sit down for an interview. Luckily, this was just an attempt at a joke on Sheldon's part.
Bazinga! You've fallen victim to another one of my classic practical...
Back at the apartment, Leonard and Penny are enjoying some time alone as Sheldon and Raj are working late, and since Raj is working with Sheldon, Leonard doesn't have to give him a ride every time anymore. This doesn't last for Leonard. And as they're trying to enjoy their time, they get interrupted by Howard, who is lonely and bored because he normally spends most of his time with Raj, and Raj is, as we noted, busy working late with Sheldon. So even though they clearly want him to go, Howard decides to awkwardly hang out and join their movie, and then insult it. We then see Raj and Sheldon getting to work, and their work is staring at an equation on a whiteboard, which I guess in theoretical physics constitutes a lot of the work that they're doing. We do get an interesting montage of them working, and some good background music while they're doing it. We then get back to Leonard and Penny, who are still trying to enjoy some alone time, and are still being interrupted by Howard. This time, as they're coming out of Leonard's room in the morning, Howard is in the kitchen making breakfast, because again, this is time he normally spends with Raj, but Raj is still off working with Sheldon. They're getting a little frustrated, so Penny urges Leonard to tell Howard that they need some alone time, which he does, and Howard takes the hint and says he's gonna go. He doesn't take it too hard, though, as he waits outside the door, as after he makes them feel bad, Penny says they should bring him back, and Leonard says come back, and Howard just walks back in, saying he was worried that they were really going to have him leave.
Oh, you guys had me scared for a minute.
We then get back to Sheldon and Raj, who are having a disagreement about the work. They disagree about something that Sheldon is writing on the board. Raj, being the expert in astrophysics, says that Sheldon's getting some energy levels wrong, and Sheldon basically says that his ideas are all brilliant and he's a visionary, so Raj needs to respect that. Raj goes to make some changes to the board, making Sheldon upset, and Sheldon tries to forbid him from touching the board, saying that he's his superior, and Raj then asks him if he can do a certain hand gesture.
Do this?
And leaves the room. And as it turns out, Sheldon can't do the hand gesture, causing him a great deal of frustration. And after reviewing the board, Sheldon realizes that Raj was right, so he goes to Raj's apartment to ask him to come back and work for him or with him again. When he first knocks on the door, Raj is still upset, and he does the interesting hand gesture again, just to frustrate Sheldon, which works. And Sheldon asks Raj to come back because his work was right, although he does not admit that he was wrong. Raj says he has some conditions, Sheldon again rejects them, and Raj takes the job. And tells Raj he needs to give him a ride home, because although he walked there, there's a big scary dog outside, and he won't go back out alone. So he agrees, and they walk down the hallway again to their nice montage music. This is a pretty solid episode. We don't get a huge amount of episodes featuring Raj, so when we do, it's an interesting change of pace. What I always find interesting in this episode is, again, that they seem to solve Raj's problem before it truly becomes a problem. Raj in this episode is anticipating that he's going to have a problem that could lead to deportation for him, but that actually hasn't come up yet. It might have actually been an interesting idea if they had had Raj actually be in danger of deportation, or actually even be deported and have the gang have to figure out a way to bring him back. But either way, this still ended up being an interesting episode. And we do usually see Raj kind of as Howard's sidekick following along with his plans, but we do see in this episode that Howard really does need Raj because he's pretty bored and not sure what to do without Raj. And this probably gave Leonard and Penny a greater appreciation of Raj as well, because they found out that they were stuck with just Howard, who had no problem interrupting them when they clearly wanted to be alone. And we have to note that although he did it in a bit of an obnoxious way, trying to of course get things still always the way he wants, Sheldon was kind of the hero of this episode in the fact that he came up with a solution, got Raj a job to stay at the university so that deportation would not become an issue. So in his own way, Sheldon was looking out for his friend. I would rate this episode as a solid 7 out of 10. Please let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comment section. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And please keep an eye out for my next video coming soon.